Dudes, what is something that surprised you about gals when you first started dating / had a relationship with? Once the wife moved in, I found out that once a week, I have to dismantle the vacuum to untangle all the hair, so it actually worked. Only found out after I bought a new one and it stopped after a week. I was shocked to learn that they don't wash their hair every time they shower. Some just once or twice per week. I now understand the reasoning behind it and totally agree. But I was very surprised at first. The cotton closet. The amount of disposable cotton products required by them. From toilet paper, Q-tips, cotton balls etc. The fact that the said closet is restocked monthly boggles my mind. To me it seems like I've had the same box of Q-tips for 5 years. I realized that as a man I don't think much about my personal safety. When I went on the first date with my now wife of almost a decade, I mentioned to one friend, that I was going to dinner with a woman. That was it. Nothing about her. Nothing about where we were going. I just showed up at this restaurant and met her by the entrance. I later learned she had told 4 of her friends and her mother that she was going to meet me, showed them my picture, and linked them to my dating site profile. They all seem to get cold at night, no matter the time of year, and sleep under a mountain of blankets. Sometime in the middle of the night they will become hot under that mountain of blankets, and shed some of them, and the method is to pile the discarded blankets on top of you. You wake up about 3:30 a.m. wondering how and why you're baking like a potato. On a somewhat related note, your job is to be a source of heat, both in the winter and the summer when the AC is on. Get used to, OMG you're so warm, and arms and legs thrown over you under that mountain of blankets. That girls aren't that different to us. When I was younger I thought we were so completely far apart, but the reality is that we're mostly similar, with some differences, rather than the other way around. I also learned that talking to a girl just like you talk to anyone is all you need to form relationships. Inexperienced 14-year-old me could have easily fallen for pickup artists and all of that bull. The very first date I went on was a blind date, and it was originally just a meetup that extended into the whole day in the same shopping plaza. It started with just tea at a cafe, then we wanted to stay there longer, so it extended into a movie. She wanted to see it for a while and just didn't have anyone to go with her, but didn't want to see it alone. Turns out, the next showing of the movie was 3 hours later. No big deal, we walked around, talked a bit more, then she decided to get her hair done at the salon. She told me not to pay for it. Okay, no big deal, she stated directly that she didn't want me to pay for the salon. We killed more time afterwards, went to the movie, then went to a restaurant nearby. In the restaurant, she asked me why I didn't try to pay for it. I, having never been on a date, thought I did something wrong, so I told her she asked me not to. She was impressed that I listened to such a simple request, and didn't try to do it anyway. I said it would have been rude to ignore her. That stuck with me all these years later, though. That wasn't a tricky scenario, she was just glad that I gave her what was, in my eyes, basic respect. That's not even standards, just decency. I think about that when some of my friends who are women talk about their boyfriends, and how they won't listen to them, won't put time into the relationship, or worse, put them down and insult them. This isn't to say I was a great boyfriend, I was far from Mr. Perfect, I'm no white knight, and I'm far from a saint. But every time I hear a story like what one of my friends is going through right now, I think of my mother, and I'm grateful I had such a good influence for how to treat women, because she taught me the one thing no one else ever bothered to say: women are people too, just treat them the same as you treat your other friends. Sorry for the long comment that went over the question a bit, it's just been bothering me for a while. Back when I was in my late teens and I had my first serious relationship, I was shocked to find out that you could get into an argument with your GF because she was mad at you because of something you did in a dream she had. I was even more shocked to find out during the next couple of decades that it was something that could still happen with adult women many years older than that teenage GF. Maybe it's due to the TV I watched as a kid, or maybe it's due to the household I was raised in, but I thought that generally, girls were clean and hygienic and boys were dirty and leave a mess everywhere. Moved in with my first girlfriend and well, that was a lie. Girls managed to leave a mess everywhere. Our pants rarely have pockets. I seriously think it's a conspiracy to sell more purses. But also, men will never know the joy of finally finding clothes with pockets and celebrating. In the light of everything else in this thread, mine is gonna seem really petty. Here goes. I actually have to pay more money to purchase running/gym clothes that have no pink element in them. It's very subtle, but at some point I realized that my sports clothes are predominantly pink because I purchased the cheaper option of a name brand, whereas the slightly more expensive is virtually the same but in green/red/reflective/not pink. I can't speak for all women, but I think we're so often inundated with depictions of women as crazy/irrational/petty, that we're constantly second-guessing whether our emotions are valid. I read a lot of awful things on the Men of Reddit version of this thread, and it's heartbreaking that having a penis means you don't get to have feelings. But, as a woman, I don't feel like I get to trust mine. I don't know if my emotional reactions will be validated, or if I'll be told to calm down, you're overreacting, you're too sensitive, or some other version of that. I never feel comfortable expressing my emotions, because I'm afraid of being dismissed. There are men in the world who assault/harass/bully women when no other men are present, but act like perfectly decent fellows when other men are present. I wouldn't think this would be surprising, but I keep encountering men who are genuinely surprised when they learn it. How much shampoo she uses. A bottle of shampoo for me is almost like a bottle of Windex. It could hypothetically run out, but it happens so rarely that it isn't sometime you think about. Suddenly I found myself buying bottles of shampoo as a regular thing. How many of them have been taught to be embarrassed by natural body stuff? All of my long-term girlfriends have mentioned being shamed in the past by men about body hair, burping, farting, or even simply being on their periods. A lot of women are taught that their bodies are gross and something they need to hide or be ashamed of, something a lot of guys totally take for granted. Currently living with my GF, and I was extremely relieved to find out she's been real with me. Yes, we are closer proximity, but she treats me the same. She's about as messy as I expected after seeing her old room, and that she can put up with my extreme disorganization, even if it drives her up the walls on a bad day. I was expecting major changes, and we knew each other well enough that that hasn't been the case. Quite honestly, the improvement in my quality of life. It's crazy the things that I do now or by now because of my wife. How spending that little bit extra on the nicer products or spending a little longer doing something around the house has such a big impact on how I feel at home. There's no such thing as just getting up and going. Deciding to go somewhere is a decision with work involved and time. I was used to just getting up and putting on shoes and walking out the door. This may be anecdotal to my life experience, but after living with 3 women and showering with a few others, I can't understand how women have such a tolerance for hot water. Like the scale goes from stupid hot to just the hot tap wide open. I've checked with a few other guys and they seem to have a similar experience. How much of a menace she is. My girlfriend actually woke me up one night. Tom, wake up, what, I'm tired. Wake up, this is serious. What's going on, is everything okay? I need you to watch this cryptid documentary with me. I honestly couldn't even be mad, it was annoying but funny. My second roommate was a lady, and one time she was having hair time of the month. Sometimes she would forget to hold the handle down on the toilet, so everything was gone. My God. I had heard about heavy flow and things like that, but didn't think women were going through 12 eldritch horrors a year. I later overheard her talking about how she doesn't have a heavy flow. I walked out of that bathroom a changed man. I always tried to be aware and understanding of women's struggles and everything, but had no idea it was that wild. Methods of storage. Me, however, method to madness. Her, organized. Several conversations have gone like this. Me, where is my blue notebook? It was on this shelf under my components box. Her, I cleaned up and organized everything. Me, okay, where is it? Her, I don't know, why don't you keep track of your stuff? How often I'd be helping her find her car keys. Eventually, I put up a hook that I was able to get her in the habit of using. Made me tear up a little at the time, but a couple weeks after we split I remember getting a text from her that said, I miss being able to find my keys. She's good at playing Tetris and very organized. I was living with my parents since I traveled for work and only made it home 1 or 2 weekends a month. She moved in with me at my parents' house. We had one room to store stuff, my bedroom. We bought things we'd need when we moved out when we saw a deal too good to pass up, and she stored them. I realized she was good when we had to make 4 trips to get all our stuff out. 4 trips. This girl had boxes inside boxes inside boxes. She utilized every inch available in our room to stack items. We just bought a house and still have some boxes left to unpack. I will call her at work and say something like, "Hey, do you remember that blue paper clip I like to use? I can't find it." She will tell me which room, which box, what container, and what is beside it, just in case I still can't find it. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more like these, consider liking, sharing and subscribing. Thanks.